the last take, you mentioned about sex in the 60s, that the whole hippie movement and the freedom that people are experiencing was very much caught up in sex, the sexual revolution. And how much do you think sex is a motivation in whatever direction? I mean, it's very interesting how we have at the moment, we have this issue with Hollande, the French president. Who's obviously involved in, well, I say obviously, but it would seem to be the case that he's involved in some kind of presumably sexual liaison with a young woman, and it's all, there's so many examples of people who rise to power, and sex is very much a driving force. It's something that motivates them. Do you think it's how relevant? I mean, obviously it's relevant, but in what way is it relevant as a motivation?
That's a good question. In what way is it relevant? I don't know. You asked me in the last take, was it the right time, this hippie time? So we can connect that. Maybe not. It was that time. It was not my plan to join in the Berlin underground. My plan was a different one, and I personally felt very, how do you say in English, elite. You know, I felt special. I'm not in the way of being an artist. It came more from the time of existentialists, of Sartre, and go your life, go your way, and it was. I took part, but some things I didn't understand, and for example, this sexual thing, I didn't understand so much because I grew up in a port city, and so I didn't know what they talked about, and so we went with 16. We went to dance school. We did all that petting, what we could do without making children, and how so far it was possible. And there was not so much moral in my life. There was more a personal shyness, what had nothing to do with my education, and I always felt shy. Sex was not something for me. This, oh come on, let's fuck the girls. That was not. I found that very unaesthetical and very unromantical and a little bit ridiculous. And so, at the other hand, sex is something, it's so different for everybody. Huh? Partly for me it seemed a lot of hard work, what I found uncomfortable. So,
well, the actual physical act?
Physical.
Or the process of getting
exactly.
sex.
To smell another person and all that stuff, and to pull things out and how to do that and all that, and so I had the idea all that should function very natural, and when it functions, and so it's a part of life, a natural part of life. For some persons more important, for others less important, or not like this. This is the only thing in life, and the sexual revolution. There was something in the air of not getting enough, something very materialistic. Let's fuck them all. and or when they talk about how much groupies fucked Mick Jagger, how much musicians fucked that groupie, and I had nothing to do with that idea. I was astonished and what they are talking about, and I want to meet some girl I like, and we have the same. We are on the same wave, things like that, and so. But it was a very important movement for the society, not for the artist. You know, it's artists in every time were a little bit different, and yeah, it's. I don't like this idea of sexualization. I don't like that. I think the more sexualized the society is, the less it happens in a way I would like to do that. That is good sex, or.
I mean, it was a reaction. I mean, I think throughout the world, but I mean, certainly in England, it was a reaction to the Victorian period.
Yeah, the same in Germany.
That was very,
yeah,
very confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. About sex and sexuality and so on. And I think that was obviously something that needed to be reacted to.
Yeah.
That needed to be
yeah.
Rebelled against in some way.
At the other hand, the hippie spirit partly was a romantic spirit, and that was a spirit I appreciated.
When you say romantic, you mean romantic in that it was wrapped up in some other world that was more sensitive, that was more of a dream world.
Yeah, yeah. This idea of more sensitive, yes, and but you have to see that in relations to our fathers, who all were in the Second World War and lived in a brutal time, and you couldn't be very sensitive when you were a soldier in the Russian front, and so although they were sensitive, and so they came
out damaged.
So they came damaged back, and but the hippie time is very interesting because I was really astonished about it's a model for something, for a strange mixture of a new conservatism, and to go back, to go further. It was between, yeah, and the romantic idea is not a futuristic idea of this, you know, space, going into the space and high tech and all that, and so for me it depends what you mean. The romantic idea is a very conservative idea, to have your nice little decoration around your environment. It's all my little tiny things and all that, and shiny world, and